Alright, today we're going to talk about equations of a circle. So first, we're going to go to this website, which is going to look something like this. Has a circle, has 3 sliders that we can change and kind of experiment with. So what is the equation of a circle that has a center of 2, -5, and a radius of 8? So if you remember, our h and our k were our center, or our vertex, or our parabola. Now they're the center of our circles. So we move it 2 to the right, because that's what this says, 2 to the right, and down 5, just reading the coordinates, and a radius of 8. There we have our circle, and we have our equation that goes with it. X minus 2 squared plus y plus 5 squared equals 64. Just like when we had in parentheses before, it was the opposite. Well, it's the opposite for both of these now, y and x. So there is the equation for number 1. What is the center and radius of a circle with equation x minus 3 squared plus x plus 1 squared equals 16? Well, hopefully center is at 3, -1. Okay, I'm just looking at my sliders. H is 3, k is -1, radius is 4, and we have the same equation as what we need, so our center is 3, -1, and our radius is 4. So if hk is the center of the circle, and r is the radius, this is the equation that we're going to use. X minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared, the radius squared. Now a lot of times this radius squared will just be multiplied out. We got to remember to take the square root of it when we use our radius. So let's get a little bit more into this. Number 4 says take the square roots of both sides. In what equation have we used this before? So if we take the square root of r squared, we get r. If we take the square root of the whole other side, we get the square root of x minus h squared plus y minus k squared. This is supposed to look like the distance formula. We haven't used the distance formula a whole lot, but this is what it is. So our radius is the distance from the center, h and k, to a point, x and y. So we're going to be using that formula quite a bit. Or if you want the distance formula, but they're the same thing. So first, number 5. The center is at -3, 6. Remember, we go opposite. So it's x plus 3 and y minus 6, both squared. And then our radius is the last thing we go, and it's 4 squared, which is 16. And then we have to graph it. So your center is -3, 3 to the left, +6, 6 up, that's our center. And then from there, go left, right, up, and down 4 to get our circle and connect the dots. Number 6, we have the center and the circumference. So we need the center, but we need the radius as well. So if we recall, our circumference formula is 2 pi r, and we set that equal to 10 pi because that's what our circumference is, and we solve for r. Well, if we divide by 2 pi, cancels out all over here, we get r by itself. Over here, the 2 pi's cancel out, and 10 divided by 2 is 5. So radius is 5. So we plug it in. X plus 5 squared from the -5 here, plus y minus 7 squared from the 7 here, equals 25 from this 5 here. And again, we graph it opposite of the 5, so it's -5, and opposite of the -7, so up 7, that's our center, and from there we go 5, 5, 5, 5, and connect the dots. So number 7 is a very similar problem, but instead of the circumference, we have the area. So again, if we recall, the area formula is pi r squared. So pi r squared is equal to 36 pi. We divide by pi. We get 36 equals r squared. We don't care what r squared is. We want to know r, so we take the square root. We get a radius of 6. So when we write this into our formula, 6 squared is 36, and that's what we put in our formula. Now, opposite of -6 for the h coordinate, so it's x plus 6 squared, plus y minus 0, or y plus 0, is just y, and then it's squared. So x plus 6 squared plus y squared equals 36. A center and a point on a circle. So first of all, we should label our center as HK, and a point on the circle is just another x and another y. So we substitute those in to the circle formula, which hopefully we remember is x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. So in for h goes 2, but it looks like the opposite, so it's minus 2. In for the x is -2, -2 minus 2. And in the other set of parentheses, we have the y, which is 2, minus the k, which is 6, so 2 minus 6. And we're going to solve for the radius. So -2 plus -2 is -4. 2 minus 6 is also -4, but when we square those, they become positive. -4 squared is 16 for both times. Add those two together, so we get 32 equals r squared. But our radius is the square root of that. So we take the square root of 32, and we get about 5.6. So when we're writing the equation of the circle, we plug back in h, so 2. We plug back in k, 6. And we plug in r squared. Now here we saw that r squared is 32. So we don't have to think about the radius being 5.6. So it's x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. And that's our circle. So we graph it. -2 is 2 to the right. -6 is up 6. Remember, everything's the opposite. Then from there, our radius is the square root of 32, which is 5.6 about. So we go 5 and a little bit, 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 and we connect them hopefully better than I did. I missed the point here, but we should be able to do that. All right, let's take it a couple steps further. Now we have the endpoints of a diameter. We don't even have the center of the circle or the radius. So we know that the midpoint of the endpoints of a diameter would be the center. Center is in the middle of the ends. So our midpoint formula is add the x's up, divide by 2, add the y's up, divide by 2, finding an average. So it's -2 plus 8 over 2. Again, it's just -2 plus 8, and we'll do 3 plus 11, and divide by 2. So we get our center of 3, 7. So now I choose one of the set of coordinates. I chose 8 and 11 because both numbers are positive. So you do 8, that's our x coordinate, minus h3 squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared, just like we did in the last problem. So 8 minus 3 is 5, 5 squared is 25. 11 minus 7 is 4, 4 squared is 16. Add those two up, we get square root of 41, or we get 41 equals r squared. We take the square root, it's 6.5 is the radius. So for graphing, we have to go 3 to the right and up 7 because that's our center. And then from there we go 6 and a little bit, 6 and a little bit, 6 and a little bit. 6 in a little bit. But when we write our equation, remember our coordinates for the center are opposite, so x minus 3, even when we want 3 to the right, and y minus k should be minus 7 squared equals, and again we square the radius, which is what we had in the beginning, so 41 is r squared, and we have our equation. Lastly, number 10, we have this circle. We have to write the equation of it. We don't have to graph, obviously, because it's done. So the center is at 2, 2. We do the opposite, x minus 2, y minus 2, both squared. And our radius, we count from the middle to the end point of the circle. We could have counted down, or left, or up. It's 3 each way, and we square that to get 9. And that's how you do equations of circles.